Here at Singularity Financial, we're joined by Henry, who is the managing partner at YGC. So Henry, your background is at Facebook, looking at growth. And recently we've heard that Facebook, or WhatsApp by virtue of Facebook, is looking at issuing a stable coin or a digital currency. What's the point of that? What's going on there?
So if you look at sort of the recently Mark Zuckerberg has announced that they're headed towards privacy, right? Their advertising model, the revenue model, is being challenged by many different jurisdictions, and because of privacy issues and because of the data collection issues, and GDPR in Europe and so on.
Everyone got those emails.
So so it's scary for them, right? If you look at their recent 10K for 2018, 98% of their revenue comes from advertising. And if you look at, in comparison for Tencent and WeChat, 16% of the revenue from WeChat is advertising.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Significantly lower.
Yeah.
Okay,
the rest of it is gaming. The rest of it is, financial products and a number of other things like micropayments. And how do we diversify the revenue from advertising model where it's freemium to something that's, utility based, that's financial based? The first thing that they have to do is go into payments.
Okay.
There's no other ways around it. It's quite obvious to me that they have to get to payments, and I think blockchain is a huge play in part of it. And whether it's true blockchain like the decentralized manner, or simply a coin, or blockchain as an excuse for people to onboard their fiat money into the Facebook platform so you can more easily use within the Facebook ecosystem or any apps that use a Facebook login, whatever it may be, but they have to get the payments first. Okay.
And how does that, do you see any kind of parallels to how payments work in China at the moment with the likes of Alipay and WeChat Pay? And are we saying that actually if some of the tech giants in the US move towards this, they're a few years behind, they need to build a merchant network, things like that? What do you see going on there?
Well, the best part about WeChat and how they've rolled out their payment system, right, is there's not much of POS hardware anywhere.
No, there isn't. It's a QR code, right? You print it.
What can you do with QR codes? You can issue it to billions of businesses anywhere around the world within seconds, right? You just generate the QR code that's specific to each business, and that is your merchant system. It's as simple as that. And it only works because there's money that's stored in WeChat, and they're basically the global bank in any areas that they can cover, right? And if you look at all the messaging platforms, every single messaging platform is moving in that direction because that's how you monetize messaging, right? And Facebook has tried implementing ads within Messenger. That wasn't a good feedback from all the users and advertisers. And it worked well, but it's very invasive. And
they're moving away from it anyway, right?
They're moving away from it, and but how do you monetize a messaging platform? Kakao, like Telegram and Facebook, WhatsApp, and whatever it may be. I mean, just look at the ones that have monetized the best, right? WeChat has done it.
They've already done the hard work, right? They've onboarded users, right? That's the hard work, right? Everyone who has a messaging account has a messaging account, and so the question is, what can you build on over and above that?
Exactly.
I still think actually the challenge would be, I think we talked about it earlier, but you talked about utility, right? How do we build, or how do we hack the greatest amount of utility for a payments system that's connected to a messaging app? Is there any thinking around that?
So as we talked a little bit about before, is there's areas that everybody needs to pay for, and there are things that we need to pay to survive in this world, right? There's food and there's rent, and there's a number of other things like convenience stores or that things you have to buy, and let's integrate within that. Right, it has to come from the basic needs first, and now we have users, now we have apps. the next thing I see is connecting with small businesses local in areas where we have the basic needs that we need to cover with expenses.
Okay, so if everything can be paid via digital wallets, via e-wallets, from peer to peer, from merchant to peer, and so on, so everything's covered, right? B2B, right. B2C, C2C, then where does that leave retail banking?
I think many of them are being challenged today. And first of all, the fintech world, with Revolut and a number of different
the virtual banks, right?
The virtual banks, and they see an opportunity in that. But what they don't see is that their cost of onboarding users is expensive. Right. And with someone like a messaging platform where they have already existing users and want to onboard that into their payment system, basically it's retail bank system, whatever you want to call it, their cost of onboarding is...
I just put it into the app, right? And
I just put it into the app, right? And a number of these companies and they realize that they can do that. Like even Grab in Singapore has all sorts of financial products within Grab now. They're
the taxi
service, right? Okay. So every user app is, how do you expand your business once you have the users, right? You have to look at ways to do that, and payments is a huge step forward from that, because once you have payments, you can do a lot of different things.
And kind of moving on a little bit, right? What's the most exciting thing about, say a tech giant or a messaging app adopting their own payment, right? Is it I guess the fact that you can have lots of merchant utility, or is it over and above that you can also help people diversify their accounts within that payment app? I don't know, through having different currencies or multi-accounts, or even using a separate kind of peg for your payment coin.
So I think the biggest value is having the money on your platform, right? It can do so many things with it. There's so many business models alone that that it relies on people putting money on your platform. If you look at Robinhood, if you look at Venmo, if you look at PayPal, a number of these platforms, or even all the banks in the world, right? They make money off of your deposits, right? So if you can get users and people to put value and money within your system, then that is a giant business on its own. And you add that to utility, and you can charge transactions or all sorts of financial products, and that becomes even gigantic business. So from my view, if I were Facebook, and I'm sure they're thinking about this, they're very smart people.
Good.
They would take over the global retail bank. Like they would be the largest global retail bank in the world.
I think I recently read a Reuters article where actually, I think it was back in 2017, but a third of people were willing already to move their banking from the retail banks to a tech giant. And so I think that there's an appetite there. What have you noticed in terms of consumer behavior that's going to help adoption in the near term?
If you look at Southeast Asia, Facebook and coming in from Facebook, and this is all public, and you can see that the app, it looks differently in Southeast Asia. If you go to Thailand or Malaysia, a number of these countries, actually people use Messenger as a way to order from small businesses, and many of the small businesses rely on Facebook as a transaction platform.
A distribution channel as well, right?
Channel, right? And also, they quietly they have the largest classifieds marketplace in the world. Bigger than Craigslist, bigger than anywhere else, right? And then you can have a marketplace, and you can buy and sell things. And if you look at all these other companies like LetGo, and a number of them have now worth billions of dollars, right? And Facebook is bigger than all of them.
So why are we seeing that in Southeast Asia, but not necessarily in kind of global top tier cities?
The infrastructure they don't have, right? Right. If in the U.S. it's credit cards, and in China and it's a lot of WeChat, and there are areas where you have existing infrastructure. In Southeast Asia, a number of these countries don't have a clear winner. And they don't really have a trusted source where they can rely on, and Facebook is this giant U.S. company that's worth hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So who do you trust, right?
I don't know. It sounds like the tech giants are going to be the next too big to fail kind of entities, right?
Yeah. But they're going to create a lot of value along the ways, right? And there's a lot of value that's being created when you connect businesses to individual consumers, right? And such as e-commerce has allowed more small businesses around the world to be able to sell to, say, the U.S. and something that I'm most excited about, and one of the main reasons I joined Facebook is their mission was connecting the world, right? But what I saw was that just wasn't enough. It was connecting the world with information is not enough, right? And now what we're doing with YGC is sort of moving the blockchain world forward by gaining adoption for the industry and innovation and actually use the technology. But at the end of the day, the world that I see in the next 5-10 years is that all the financial products and industries and the value around the world will be connected, right? And any investors from Hong Kong or China should be invested in the U.S., whether it's real estate or stocks or paying for anything with such low cost that international business should be as easy as local business.
Great, but if we look even further ahead, right, and say, okay, right, eventually everyone's going to be connected, everything will be peer-to-peer, right? Does that mean actually, after this movement of moving from retail banks to kind of payments via messaging apps, we eventually move on to a completely different model, which is kind of some of the bread and butter of blockchain, which is an entirely decentralized model, whereby actually to do this we don't even need a central counterparty such as a messaging app, but people can transfer value direct. Right. Do you see that happening, or?
I think the banking is changing already. Right. There's really not much need for a bank.
Bold words. Like
It's they're just, you put your money there, they charge fees on, and but they're keeping what you have safe. Yeah. Right. Yeah. If you can do that on your own, if you do that without too much cost, and there's really no. It's not necessary for them to have.
So this brings us on to one of the big problems in the blockchain space, or a problem in the blockchain space, which is custody. Right. So we see big players like Fidelity working on the custody solution. There are different kind of when you can talk about crypto custody, or you can talk about actually just custody for assets of any description. Right. When it comes to a peer-to-peer network, people need to start doing custody for themselves, or at least paying someone else to do custody for them. Right. Are there any current issues in custody in the payment space that you can see?
I think there's got to be something in between that, right? It's not the two extremes where you have custody that's institutional grade, or you have to have private keys on your paper wallet to secure yourself, right? It's got to be in between that, where the digital wallets are evolving, right? There's going to be multi-sig, and there's going to be a number of ways that you can secure it, and abstracting all the complexity away, right? I think one of the things that Vitalik has talked a little bit about, and then WeChat has done, is a peer sort of recovery code, right? So if I lose my login on WeChat,
get your friends to
get 2-3 of your friends, and that you can trust, your family members, right? And that's smart, right? So you lose your password, and you gotta find a way to get it back. Right? You can't just be this. Well, Bitcoin's lost. That's gone forever, right? So
not very usable that way, is it?
Exactly. Right. So kind of sharding the keys and making sure that we have multi-sig and a number of ways to recover. Once you have it recovered, the recovery access, then that gets.
It's a lot like email, right? It's like a lot like email today when you got your two-factor authentication, or just have a separate recovery email or a phone number or whatever.
Right. But even the emails and the phone numbers, there's still many of the SIM swap and hacking, and emails are still fairly easy to hack. Two-factor is fairly recent. That you can. I think most people in the world don't have two-factor today. Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, if you're listening to this, make sure you have two-factor
Yeah, make sure you don't
authentication.
make sure you don't use a text message two-factor, because then they can take your phone, and then your two-factor doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So first of all, get two-factor.
Yep.
But we hope to with this movement of blockchain, sort of have a better security for all the things that we just talked about. Emails,
Whilst abstracting it, right? Whilst making sure no one goes through the birthing pains of the protocol and the infrastructure.
Right. Yeah. The 26 letters of recovery codes, right? And that's a lot.
Yeah.
And you do that for one platform, and you do that for 20 different platforms.
And in reality, what do you do with it? Do you hide it under your bed?
Right.
Do you give it to your mom, or do you open a safe and then start paying to have a safe anyway?
Right. Why can't I just appoint 3 of my family members, and if I really lose it, and then they'll help me out and then get it back, right? And if the hacker really needs to hack, they have 4 people, right? And you can pick however many numbers of people you want. That's your freedom, right? So pick your best friends, and pick it's 3 out of 5, 5 out of 7, whatever it may be. That should be a reality in the next year or two, and all of our security will be upgraded because of that.
Okay.
So that comes out of the sort of the movement of blockchain that we talk about security. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Finally, what are you most excited about in 2019? What do you think is up and coming in the blockchain retail space?
I think just education on what this new world will look like, right? And I think number of jurisdictions and number of big players are doing a better job of educating the world, with such as Samsung, integrating, and Facebook coming in, and the world is becoming more and more digital, and the value is becoming digital, right? And whether you like it or not, in the next few years, you may not be able to use cash in many different places. We were in Shenzhen yesterday, and they don't take anything but WeChat Pay. We have to scan a QR code to get an ice cream, and then the cash doesn't work. Credit card doesn't work.
Absolutely.
They have to scan a QR code. Right, and that's going to be reality in many different parts of the world, and people need to be educated that is what's coming.
Right. The world is changing, right?
The world is changing, right? And if the faster you understand where that world is going to go, where the value is going to accrue, then you want to be part of the businesses that are building towards that and not be left behind.
Okay.
Right? Just like number of businesses, were basically obsolete after the internet, right? And many of the publications and news channels, and people just didn't realize that internet was going to be the future. And they were left behind.
And so the question is, once the internet came, people started building things on top of the internet, right? Then came e-commerce and advertising, social media, and all this stuff. The question is now, what do people build on top of a blockchain once that comes into reality? Anyway, thank you for your time, Henry. It's been really great talking to you.
I appreciate that.
See you soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.